process, a lot of conversations with the community, a lot of outreach to the community, back and forth, and having that strategic plan guiding us and saying these are what the priorities should be has been really helpful for our team to stay motivated and stay focused throughout a lengthy process. So these updates primarily relate to affordability and economic opportunity, but definitely also touch on supporting a high-performing government. We did a lot of research on peer communities, on communities that have been recognized for being high performers, for leading the way in some of these areas around housing and around development review. And we gleaned insights from those other communities and learned things from them, while also trying to apply a little bit of an original flair to these updates that we're proposing. So all of these help to achieve the strategic plan. You've seen this slide before, but the department did come up with a work plan that we shared with you right off the bat in January of this year. And these updates touch on 3 buckets in this work plan and really help us advance our partnerships with the community, help us to improve our procedures, our processes, and provide better service delivery to our customers. And also, they're obviously related to code reform, making sure that the specific standards that govern development, that govern how our community grows, align with best practice, align with overarching guiding documents that have come from the community. So we're excited to kind of get to the year end and have some real tangible accomplishments to share with you and discuss tonight. Lastly, before I turn it over to Eva on this resolution, we presented our customer service strategy to council back in September. That came out of a lot of work and dialogue with our customers. These updates regarding the Fair Share program, regarding the development review process, and thinking about how our boards and commissions act really help us advance the goals of our customer service strategy, particularly around efficient assistance, making sure that we're not just having procedures for the sake of doing things, but they all have a purpose and they're really targeted towards outcomes. Being able to communicate clearly and consistently about why procedures are in place and how those function, and then also being able to adapt solutions to the context or to the unique elements of different projects. So I hope that helps you kind of get the context and the setting from which all these proposals came from, and we look forward to digging in now to the substance and having a conversation with council as we move forward. So thank you. I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Eva Henson, Housing Innovation Manager. Tonight we'll be discussing a resolution to update the Fair Share manual pertaining to the Fair Share program. So this is a staff-initiated request to update the Fair Share administrative manual. These are minor edits to simplify processes or improve clarity and consistency, as Scott mentioned. There are references throughout the manual that used to be tied to the Regional Housing Alliance. Now it's tied to our nonprofit partner Homes Fund. So a lot of clarity and just cleanup throughout the manual for that purpose, in partnership and conjunction with city staff to administer Fair Share. And the changes work in tandem with the proposed text amendments that'll be a little bit later on your agenda, pertaining to the ordinance and the actual text amendments to the Land Use Development Code. So we're in a little unique scenario where I'll talk about the resolution for the administrative processes, and then we'll come back before you and talk a little bit more in depth about the Fair Share program and the ordinance and those text amendments. Again, there's some flexibility built into this, which is why we want to keep that, to be nimble, flexible, some market conditions with that resolution forward. And then the most substantial changes are reducing the barrier of no third-party subsidies allowed. Right? So that's currently conflicting with our strategic goals for the organization and our plan with affordability and economic opportunity. And so we want to reduce those and incentivize unit facilitate construction, as well as bridge that disparity in costs between home ownership and rental pricing. Fair share is not going to be the silver bullet, but it's certainly a great tool for us to use to create new development for affordable and attainable housing. It ties with our policy and code reform and again, new housing development. But as you all know, we're also looking for partnership opportunities for adaptive reuse. We're going to look for opportunities with land acquisition or other opportunities for existing structures. We want to do preservation of existing housing. And of course, the key part of any part of housing and the complexities is funding sources. Again, fair share was adopted in 2009. We'll talk a little bit about inclusionary zoning when I come back before you with the ordinance and the text amendments, if that's okay. This is to enhance potential public-private partnerships, as we mentioned. This will also help utilize local resources to bridge the cost disparity between those rental and home ownership prices. And we want to utilize the housing funds to facilitate and incentivize unit construction while leveraging local, state, and funding opportunities. This also ties in with the, as I mentioned, the Fair Share Manual specifically states it's anticipated that this manual may be amended from time to time by resolution of the City Council in response to changed housing market conditions and opportunities to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of administering the provisions, which says Article 17, but this cleanup will now reference it accordingly and correctly to Article 5.4. A little bit about community engagement and next steps. We've come before City Council a few different times throughout the year about fair share. In particular, we actually extended the term of fair share program amounts and maximal affordable housing prices. That helps some solutions with current projects in the pipeline while we work with our housing consultant group policy research to make enhancements and propose recommendations about the program. We've also identified with study session more recently in September about these sort of packaged code amendments coming before you now. We're at tonight where we're going to be doing the proposed resolution, also text amendments. I like to look at it as a two-prong approach, two parts, kind of do a fair share part one, and then we'll be coming back before you later in December with group policy research for a more enhanced new program recommendations. And with that, I'll open it up for some questions and the recommended motion for the resolution about the meeting.
Thank you for the recommended motion. May we have a motion from council?
We need to have a resolution number with us, or is that on the next one?
I think that's on the next one.
Okay, just making sure, perfect. I move to approve the proposed resolution to update the Fair Share Administrative Manual.
Second. Excellent. We have council discussion. Oh, excuse me, wait, first I'll open the public hearing.
Not public hearing.
No public hearing?
No, not.
Okay. No public hearing live or virtual?
No, this is not a public.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Then, council discussion. Councilors?
How many times have we tried to get, we went off like RFP to try to get someone to update our Fair Share? I know, because we've been working on this for a long time.
Yes, this has been a process.
Yes.
I believe it started actually before the Housing Innovation Division was created. It was that summer of 2021. I believe it went out first for RFP and then it went out again to get revised. And then we strategically did it again in the fall of 2022. And that tied in with the DOLA Department of Local Affairs opportunity through House Bill 1271 and their planning grant for innovative housing and affordable strategies.
Excellent. Well, thank you for all your hard work on this. I know it's been a long time coming. I think it's going to be great and really help the city bridge those gaps. And I just want to say the work you've done and the creativity that your department shows time and time again in getting these projects built and more affordable housing, in the market is just phenomenal. So thank you so much for your hard work, community development's hard work. I appreciate it. And I know our community appreciates it as well.
We have one person that did raise their hand for public hearing, so I'm sorry for comment.
I believe as the city attorney's office, we did have a public comment for the items on the agenda for 8, 9, and 11, so this is 11. But I would move on the procedure issue with the city attorney's office and whether our public comments allowed or not.
I think a public comment would be allowed.
All right, let's go ahead and have the public comment, please. I'll open the public hearing. I think we might have had someone virtually that wanted
for.
Yes, Mayor, Julie Cooley her hand, but just lowered it,
Mute. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. My first time that I have listened in this way, and it's fun, but I was a little concerned about whether I could talk or not. I am Julie Cooley, I live at 3510 Bennett Street, and I am on the NENA board, the Neighbors in Need Alliance. So first I wanted to thank the city and council for the work that you do in supporting the homeless in our area, like NANA and some of the other programs that you support. I wanted to comment to the Fair Share program and invite you to look at it a little bigger. One of the things that I'm seeing in reading lately is that the impact of requiring parking spaces has resulted in higher housing prices. And I'm wondering if we can't, as a city, maybe we can bargain with the developers and say, hey, we got a deal for you. You don't have to have any required parking spaces. Because the truth of the matter is they will get enough to sustain their development. But you don't have to have parking spaces, and at the same time, if you are going to do the fair share, you're gonna pay more. You're gonna pay enough to actually have an impact. And there's other things that have been happening in the world. Austin has just adopted this plan. Seattle has adopted the plan, and what they found is that it brought building costs down substantially, and it did not result in parking problems. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. Thank you all very much for what you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, any other council discussion? All right, maybe we have a roll call, please.
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Councilor Yazzie,
Yes.
Councilor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
and Councilor Bosman's.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item 12.1. This is a public hearing, first reading of an ordinance appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amounts and for the purpose as set forth for operating expenditures for the city of Durango. Staff will start with the staff presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Devin Schmidt, Chief Financial Officer, here to present the public hearing and the first reading to consider the 2024 operating appropriation ordinance first. So as part of the annual budgeting process and in compliance with Article 5, Section 6 of the City Charter, the City Council shall adopt the final budget in a timely manner before the start of the ensuing budget year and pass the necessary appropriation ordinance. So this will be the public hearing to consider the 2024 annual appropriation ordinance for operating and the first reading of the ordinance. So the City Council received the proposed budget in October. We went through the reconciliation in November, as well as an additional public hearing to include the highway user tax funds. So the total expenditures on the operating budget before you this evening is $128,645,244. And council sets forth the spending limits for the annual budget. So just to kind of bring that into what does that mean? So I wanted to take some time to share what this budget will accomplish by strategic plan goal area for the year 2024. So starting off with financial excellence and high performing government. There will be a refresh to the City of Durango strategic plan. We will continue the Baldridge Performance Excellence work. We'll upgrade new programs that better assist with legal document preparation and review. The employee engagement survey will go out in 2024. We're going to be moving to a 7-1 benefit plan renewal, which will help with our budget and also help our employees. And we are also offering a mental health first aid course for all staff. Always reviewing and looking at health plan design changes for our benefits. We'll complete complete remaining fund balance policies, we're gonna pivot to a full budgeting for outcomes. We will be working on a purchasing policy rewrite, streamlining our processes for sales tax, and we will complete the annual comprehensive financial report on time with no material findings. We will continue to further the phone system migration off the traditional voice over IP system to the cloud-based over to Microsoft Team phone systems for customer service enhancements. Continue standalone audiovisual technology across the city, and we're gonna also explore a new enterprise resource planning system to seek improvements and better efficiencies. In our goal area of affordability and economic opportunity, I know there's a lot on there, but my goodness, these folks are looking to accomplish a lot with this year's budget, so I'm not gonna touch on them all, but I will give you some highlights. So, create a housing opportunity, support multi-generational mixed income, community workforce, and increase affordability to bridge the disparity between income and home rental prices. Advance the development of the Housing Accelerator Program to ensure housing priorities are integrated into development review decision-making. We'll participate with our key stakeholders, such as the Regional Housing Authority, Economic Development Alliance, and other jurisdictions in La Plata County for a 3-year workforce housing investment strategy. We're looking in our community development group to enhance customer service through an updated software and web-based services for online payments. We're going to continue to work with La Plata County Economic Development Alliance on the Posta Road for property owners on the desired future land uses, annexation discussions, and allocations of funding to be being preliminary infrastructure and design for water, sewer, and road improvements on La Posta. The newly hired code reform administrator will continue to engage the public and advance code amendments to address community priorities. We will continue to fund the Renew Grant, Durango Creates Grant, Midtown Peak Grant, and the Lodgers Tax Arts and Culture funding. And we will also continue the collaboration with the La Posta Food Equity Coalition Food Business Work Group to reduce barriers for immigrants, BIPOC, and food business entrepreneurs. We'll utilize the Lodgers Tax Arts and Culture funding to activate specific areas for new developments around Durango with a specific call to artists for those projects. We're going to create an easier, more straightforward process for permitting food trucks around Durango. And we will focus on expanding experience, economy sectors in Durango and the region. And we'll continue to administer the Midtown Peak Grant award of $200,000, conduct outreach and educational efforts to continued support of the URA, and we'll partner with private sector and nonprofit entities to help advance development in underutilized areas in the community. Moving on to enhance livability and sense of place. This budget does include an administrative associate position to continuously update materials as needed for operations statistics and community outreach in our police department. We're adding call taker positions to meet the demands in the 911 center for the volume, which will allow personnel to focus on client agency safety and functions related to responses. Also, in addition of a GIS analyst, which will address to concentrate efforts specific to 911 mapping and create compliance with national emergency standards. We will deploy psychological evaluations as part of the hiring process for our 911 dispatchers as a CALIA best practice. And we will increase the trust in the community and our police department by encouraging positive interactions through coffee with the cop type programs, membership by officers and on various community boards, and at quarterly public meetings. We plan and budget to provide the capacity and investment needed to fulfill our vision and achieve our goals in the police department. In code enforcement, the Open Space Ranger initiative to increase safety and well-being is a continuation. And in our public library, we work with community leaders and issue committee to formally pursue a library district ballot. And in our Parks and Recreation, we're looking to increase our scholarship funds by reaching out to the community in need for fundraising events to provide additional scholarships for those programs. An effective infrastructure network. In our transportation department, they'll be developing the ZEV transition plan for transit, purchase the first zero emissions fleet transit vehicle, pursue free fare summer to increase transit ridership and reduce ground level ozone, implement recommendations in the comprehensive parking management plan, complete the peak demand price and CBD, implement additional information for parking supply availability and redesign of the parking website. At our airport, we'll encourage maximum airline seat capacity within the market through our air service and develop airport marketing initiatives. We're looking to update the airport website in 2024 and complete a feasibility study for future aircraft de-icing locations. For water and sewer, council will be asked in 2024 for their input on the new water sewer rate study. And also in the utilities department, we'll be working with IT to be making data-driven decisions where our city network and databases will allow for us to read that total flow and total alarm notifications for each lift station. This will better inform staff where to implement changes to reduce failure probability. We will continue to support in our CIP division the design efforts and the projects, as well as working to encourage more contractor involvement in the bidding and construction of projects and provide time for material orders and contractor planning and project execution. In our environmental sustainability and resiliency, we'll be supporting the positive change to the spring and fall cleanup program to reduce illegal dumping and increase landfill diversion, implementation of the Power Ed program in conjunction with the EPC through coordination with the sustainability cross-functional team, completion of the facilities upgrade through the EPC, including HVAC upgrades in Carnegie if awarded a state grant, completing the organics waste study and plan through 2024 and 25, implementing a composting community grant rebate program similar to the very successful e-bike rebate program. Run another successful household hazardous waste event in conjunction with Lopata County. We'll be implementing another year of the e-bike rebate program serving at least 50 residents, and we'll complete a city fleet inventory and conduct EV transition analysis. We will also continue the management and establishment of programs including the Green Durango grants, green business certification, pumpkin, and leaf drop-off. In engaged collaborative government, we're going to be looking to reduce and streamline workflow in municipal court, additional training to elevate a licensing clerk to a deputy clerk position, redesign of the city website in part to meet the demands of the ADA compliance. We'll expand the use of the new public engagement platform, Connect and Engage, collaborate with our new community engagement specialist on methodologies and implementation, and our new marketing specialist within human resources. And we will bolster community outreach engagement with the goal of creating more approaches and transparent processes related to business retention and expansion. And finally, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, we will continue to offer the language line. We will add an alternative defense counsel contract to provide a verified public defendants for all defendants and in-person court certified speaking interpretation. Translation services related to the Engage forum, increase inclusive engagement with mobile home parks for sanitary sewer outflow and emergency response plans, and translating the Waterkeepers workbook for elementary school engagement in Spanish, expanding the water rebate program to focus and include marginalized communities, and as well as updating bilingual communications around our signage. So with that, if anyone wanted to know more, our budget is posted on the city website. We do utilize OpenGov for creating our budget, distributing our budget, as well as our financial transparency portal. And just a little bit to talk about next steps. So here we are today, we're doing the public hearing on the appropriation ordinance for operating and capital. This is followed by the first reading of the ordinance for operating and capital. These will be two separate public hearings and ordinances. December 5th, we'll have the final reading and final approved. Two ordinance operating and capital. We'll have 3 resolutions for capital operating and mill levy certification from the county. And then the budget is adopted. And then by January 31st, staff will submit the adopted budget to the Department of Local Affairs. And we will publish the adopted budget online through OpenGov as well as a PDF, and we'll submit it to the Government Finance Officers Association for the Distinguished Budget Award. And so there's 2 items on here. The first is the public hearing, and then the second is related to the first reading.
Thank you so much for that very good recap. I'll just remind council and the public that we have, as you've seen through this presentation, had thorough reviews of the budget and the operating procedures during our budget retreat and our budget study session, where council had the opportunity to get all the details, ask questions, and have dialogue about the various expenditures associated with the budget. These previous discussion allows the opportunity tonight to go through the procedural processes for consideration and approval during our regular city council business agenda. And with that, do we have a motion?
I'll move to, is there an ordinance number?
Oops, sorry, you want to open the public hearing first?
I will open the public hearing. And we're going to be accepting live and virtual comments. Do we have anyone who would like to comment? No one virtually either? Okay, I'm seeing no. I will close the public hearing, and with that, can we have a council discussion? Councilors?
I can.
Oh, no, we need a motion, thank you.
What, do we have the ordinance number?
So the ordinance number won't be assigned until the final reading at the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amounts and for the purposes as set forth below for operating expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2024 budget year.
Second.
great. Council discussion.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I look forward to having the first 5 minutes to voice my concerns and questions. I had brought some of them up during the retreat, but the recording is one of the important qualities, so I'll partially repeat myself so that the public can have access to them. I acknowledge we're in a very good financial condition, with the budget showing total fund balance at the start of 2024 of 116 million, of which 75 million is for operating funds. And I thank you for correcting the initial budget where it showed a mathematical error with a 49 difference. And the budget shows that we expect us to spend the budget down about 50 million, of which the operating budget contains 14 million. But my concerns are that this budget is unrealistic and unnecessarily complex, with some information that I would consider useful missing or not clear. And that results in concerns with transparency, access to information, and our ability to provide financial and fiscal oversight. And I'll explain that in more detail while having my comments for the capital projects separate for the next agenda item. So first, I compared the budget with prior year budgets. So if we budget well, everything goes as planned with revenues and expenses, the end of the fund balance, end of the year fund balance will be the same as the beginning of the year fund balance for the next year. Similar as your bank statement on December 31st will be the same the next year, January 1st. So comparing this year's budget, 2023 budget with the 2024 budget, we are 48 million off. And I went back as far as 2020 budget, so 4 years back. And we've been off every year ranging from 16 to 48 million. That is significant. And if you compare this with actual audited numbers, which are only available in July or later of the following year, it seems we're off in a similar order of magnitude. So that seems to me to indicate that our budgets have not been very realistic. I also tried to compare the beginning of the year fund balance in the 2024 budget with the current or most recent fund balance that we now have in the city, so year to date. What do we have in the bank? I asked the city manager and even did an open records request for that fund balance, and unfortunately I did not get a clear dollar amount answer. Instead, I received a 52-page report with all individual funds and expenses, charges, projects, and basically saying for me to somehow add it all up. And just so it's clear, we have about 30 funds. Now, I'm quite familiar with the financial structure of our city, so I probably can get to that, but I find it hard to believe that the average citizen in our community would do so. I'm not sure what to say about transparency transparency on this. I would expect that anybody who asks their bank how much money they have in their bank, and they get a 52-page document with statements and charges, that person switches banks. The end result of this current fund balance, or absence of, is that it's not clear how the forecasted beginning of the year total fund balance compares to what we currently, or most recently, have visible in our bank. It might be that we're off again for multiple dollars, multiple millions of dollars. So that is on just the very basic fund balance. Another key concern is, in my opinion, unnecessary complexity of the financial structure, which I suggested could be more consistent with the audited financial report and be more transparent. One major issue here is the amount of transfers we have internally between many funds. It seems we have around 92 million of such transfers, of which I believe about 11 million, a smaller portion, is necessary for actual internal services that are provided between departments and divisions. An example being insurance. I had asked for better information on this, but have not yet received a clear answer, besides some related to the internal services part. The high amount of transfers between funds complicates the financial structure and transparency, as well as the ability to provide for an actual oversight. But it may also increase the risk of potential fraud, embezzlement, etc. Similar as last year, I have made a suggestion to reduce the number of funds.
Thank you, Councilor Bosman's. That's 5 minutes. Other councilors? Comments? Councilor Yazzie?
When I first came to city council, and I saw this open with all the transparency in the way the accounts and balances, transfer, everything is laid out, I was just impressed. Because I've been on other boards and agencies where you can't follow the numbers. This open I think is excellent. So I will disagree with Councilor Bosman's and say thank you for doing this to Durango. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your hard work in explaining how this all comes together. So it's greatly appreciated, so thank you, Devin.
Other councilor comments?
Just real quick, having been a new counselor, also going through that budgetary retreat was eye-opening and enlightening, so thank you for dumbing it down for me so I could understand what all goes through and all the work in the back end that you all do just to make sure that you give us all the information. Sometimes it is a lot to go through, but it's kind of what we set out for. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to really explain to us, and hopefully we are able to provide a little clarity to the rest of anybody about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we're spending our hard-earned taxpayer money. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Unless you're responding to comments that have been made by other councilors.
Sorry, can I continue with my?
No.
I make a motion if I have 3 more minutes from council to finish my comments on the following budget.
Motion dies. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilor Yazzie,
Yes.
Councilor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Councilor Bosman's,
No.
and Mayor Pro Tem Buell.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 12.2, a public hearing and first reading of an ordinance appropriating sums of money to various funds and spending agencies in the amount and for the purposes as set forth for capital expenditures for the city of Durango. Another staff presentation? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Judge Schmidt, Chief Financial Officer. This is the public hearing and first reading to consider the 2024 capital appropriation ordinance and the public hearing. So, again, as part of the annual budget process and in compliance with Article 6 of the city charter, the city council shall adopt a final budget in a timely manner prior to the start of the ensuing budget year and shall pass the necessary appropriation ordinance. A public hearing to consider the 2024 annual appropriation ordinance for capital on the first reading. So again, this is the high-level summary. City council received the entire budget proposal in October. We did 2 additional sessions in August as related to the capital projects as the study sessions. And then we went through reconciliation in November as well as a public hearing. And so council will be setting forth the spending limits of $101,417,445 for capital. And what will this accomplish? And so, wanted to share again for the city council and what the capital budget will accomplish by strategic plan goal areas. And so, the city will be looking to do city civic center complex funding, complete the remaining fund balance policies for our capital, pivot to the full budgeting for outcomes, and then as well as the purchasing policy rewrite. In affordability and economic opportunity, advance the vision of Durango Mesa, including the annexation of the 1,900 acres, emergency access dedication, final design for water, sewer, road infrastructure, implementation of the master plan phase 1 of public amenities for the bike trails, and coordinate installation of the public art piece common threads. And enhance livability and sense of place, complete Schneider Park improvements, with entry and decontamination stations at Lake Nighthorse, complete construction on Animas River Trail, Santa Rita to Albertsons, continue to work with the Durango Mesa Park Foundation on initiating the development of the infrastructure at the Phase 1 bike park, work with the community to reauthorize the 2005 sales tax to continue to provide long-term options for maintenance of parks and recreation facilities and development of new facilities, Smart 160 Trail, green sanitary irrigation replacements, and Chapman Hill ski area. And I'm just highlighting some of the bigger projects as well. In our effective infrastructure network, County Road 250-251, North College Drive, and the Durango Mesa Access Road are a couple of the road projects included. Continuation and design of accessibility and transit stop improvements along North Main. In 2024, the multimodal division will focus on moving existing projects forward and completing as many designs as possible. Projects include Rusa Connect, 8th Avenue and College, and Midtown Safety and more. We will initiate construction of Phase 1B of the terminal expansion project, complete construction of Phase 1 of the landing parking development, initiate design of Phase 2 of landside parking development, and complete the commercial apron concrete joint seal projects. In our utilities division, they did a 2023, completed a collection system assessment, which will help them with a 5-year replacement schedule. In environmental sustainability and resiliency, installation of up to 4 EV fast charging stations at the transit center, as well as our stormwater projects for downtown, 13th Street, Forest Avenue, and El Paso. And in engaged collaborative governance, expand the use of the new public engage platform on the city website for Connect and Engage to showcase those large capital projects for the community, as well as continue utilization of focus groups for Connect and Engage for capital projects, for example, the 14th, 15th, and 3rd at the City Civic Center. And in diversity, equity, and inclusion, terminal phase is going to include a family restroom and a nursing room, as well as the ADA improvements that are included in our multimodal project under the 2015 sales tax. So again, our budget is available to view online through OpenGov. And just a recap of our next steps, I know I just covered this one, but I'll screen through it. So public hearing of the appropriation ordinances, operating in capital, first reading of the ordinances, operating in capital. December 5th, we'll have a final reading and approval of the 2 budget appropriations. We'll have 3 resolutions for capital, operating, and mill levy certifications, and at that point, the budget is adopted. By January 31st of 2024, we will submit the budget to the Department of Local Affairs. We will publish the adopted budget online through OpenGov, as well as a PDF, and we will submit submit that to the Government Finance Officers Association for the Distinguished Budget Award. So same thing as last time, we do have a public hearing and the first reading.
Thank you so much, Devin. Okay, I'm gonna start with a motion from council to open the public hearing.
So
Second.
Can we open the public hearing now? We'll take live and virtual comments. No comments. I'll close the public hearing. And with that, can I have a motion from council?
okay, I thought you were going to some money. I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amounts and for the purposes as set forth below for capital expenditures for the city of Durango, Colorado for the 2024 budget year.
All second.
Sorry,
We really usurped. With that, can we have council discussion?
So do the honors again, a little bit faster this time. I think the problem here with the fund balances is that we have an unrealistic amount of capital projects, which is 99 million in the current agenda package. Again, comparing this to prior years, in 2022, we completed 6.5, excluding the airport, 6.5 million out of 31 million budget, which is a fifth. For 2023, we have an amended budget on capital projects for 70 million, and the actual year to date on open golf today is 12 million. Are we really expecting to spend 58 million in capital projects in 1.5 months from now on? I had asked City for a clear update on how many capital projects in the current year we have, and how much we expect to complete, and I have not gotten that information yet in a clear manner, which could be a one-page summary. I had it before for 2022. So we keep budgeting for an unrealistic amount of capital projects, $99 million, something we never even came remotely close to in my time on council. And committing $99 million for capital projects has consequences, because we miss opportunities to fund projects that could have moved forward versus the ones that were in the budget but don't move forward. Or we could save our taxpayers quite a bit of money. An example being that we actually approved a loan, a lease purchase agreement for about $5 million that costs our taxpayers about $2 million in loan setup fees and interest. Maybe we should reconsider that, but it takes three councils to do that. So my potential solution I brought forward is to include in the budget only those capital projects that have bids or are extremely likely to proceed, and to remove those that are not certain, and still work on those projects as well as more projects for that matter. And we can appropriate at any time or mid-year as needed. I'm also concerned about the amount of money that goes to consultants, even though the physical projects may not take place or in a timely manner, meaning the study may have to be redone. I had asked for the amount of money going to consultants versus physical projects, as well as the number of projects, but I have not gotten that information either. And a similar question relating to transparency and access to information. It may be beneficial to have a comparison of the budgeted cost for capital projects versus the actual incurred cost for those projects. Are we close to what we budget for? And there are many capital projects I have concerns about, but I also hope it's clear as well that I have many projects I do support, so that's not only negative. One of them is the downtown next steps, a cost of 1.2 million over multiple years going to consultants. We have 75 businesses that were voicing their concerns on Main Street, and I believe there's only 11 businesses, mostly restaurants, that took advantage of the bump outs. If this project moves forward, regardless, I have no idea if the cost 50 or 100 million or whatever it is, it will also require financing. And it seems to focus on the curbside dining and the pedestrian. And cyclists seem to be less left out, for example, because they're pushed to the road, and helps slowing down traffic. And I'm not against downtown Main Street improvements or redesign. I think we need to do better. Similar on the raw water pipeline from Lake Nighthorse, the study alone is 2 million, the execution of the project probably 20 to 30 million. And I believe we should have a better discussion on how we achieve resilience in both water supply as well as treatment. Or concerns about capital projects that have been on the budget for many years without being done, such as the $3 million gallon water tank. Or another project where I took as an example where I asked for information to see if our process of handling capital projects works, what alternatives were considered, and if an analysis was done, multiple bids obtained. This was 2 years ago, still not received that information. And I'm going to continue. Some of the budget items seem to be a blank check to a department or division of the city. And an example is the pilot program for the leasing for robots, for which the city has committed $771,000 in funds without any public meeting or presentation of the workings or expenses of that pilot program to council.
Thank you, Councilor Glassman. Other councilors? Comments? No other comments. May we have a roll call, please?
Can I make a motion for an extended 3 minutes to continue my comments, or stop it?
Motion dies. May we have a roll call? Second. May we have a roll call?
Councilor Bosman's,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
Councilor Woodruff,
Yes.
Councilor Yazzie,
Yes.
and Mayor Houston.
Yes, thank you. All right, with that, we're moving on to 12.3, a public hearing and introduction of ordinance for land use and development code text amendments regarding procedures, commission structure, and accessory dwelling units. We have Scott Shine and Lily Oswald.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, budget and land use code amendments doesn't get much more thrilling than that, so thanks for hanging with us. This is a full package. This ordinance before you touches on all 7 chapters of the Land Use and Development Code, primarily because it changes a reference to, or references to, a board or commission that is set up by the Land Use and Development Code. So a lot of the chapters are just changing a name, just so you have a sense of, Tom, are you gonna pull up the presentation? Just so you have a sense of why it spans all 7 chapters. As I said before, this came out of a lot of strategic plan objectives regarding the development review process, thinking about how and why we have procedures in place and looking for best practices in that regard. It also came from council direction on reviewing the overall city board and commission structure. We took some action back in April, I believe it was, related to advisory boards and made some adjustments there. We pulled this piece out. We felt like we needed a little more time and more dialogue with the community and with commission members to think through how we wanted to reconfigure the community development boards and commissions, and we've continued to do that. And a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm happy to report that the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the proposal that's before you tonight. So we feel like that extra time was really warranted to have that dialogue and get that process. So that's
Hey guys, I think we've got 5 people here. Thanks for sticking in. Thanks for thanks for staying with me throughout all that boring part of the meeting. It's still going on, of course, but the public comment that I'm here for starts at approximately 7:30. Not sure what the time is now, but basically they're on 12.3, and they're gonna do a 12.4, and then there's gonna be a public comment section. So I'm gonna be giving some public comment when that happens, hopefully, if it's not too late. You never know. I mean, sometimes these meetings can run super late. Let's see who's here. Yeah, what's up, punk rock cowgirl? Hey, I just want to let you know that I accidentally deleted one of your comments earlier when I was scrolling through the chat, but I changed it. I undid it, so hopefully you're still good to go. But that's what I was just sitting there, just scrolling through comments while they're talking in there. It's 8:40 Eastern Standard Time. Oh, it's 6:40 right now. Four Corners Report. Thank you. Okay, we got time. So thanks for sticking with us here. Thanks for sticking with the stream. I know there's some boring stuff here. I know a lot of people dropped off when the public officials started reading off of their slideshows and their PowerPoint presentations. Yeah, of course. Who wants to stick around for that? But I have something I've written up to say to the city council tonight, and if you stick with me here, then you get to hear what I have to say. And some of it, I think a lot of what I have to say tonight will be very applicable to your lives. Some of it will be a little bit above your head in terms of like what's happening locally here in Durango, but a lot of it is just First Amendment stuff. You know, I'm going to be talking about how public officials are trying to convert our civil rights into crimes. So thanks for joining Punk Rock Cowgirl and Essendon Hennessy, Claire, Wales, UK, Four Corners Report. And then people that probably dropped off a while ago, like Four Corner, Fist in the Air. Thanks for joining earlier. Sorry I couldn't talk. I can't talk in the meetings when everybody is in there. It'd be disruptive. Let's see who else. JC News Now. I mean, I don't know who's still here, but thanks for sticking with the stream, even though it's been slow going. You know, I mean, the wheels of government turn slowly, and so do their meetings. Here we are.
I won't go through all of it, but this is just a summary of the ways that we respond to the community. We go to council, planning commission, updated throughout the process. You can see all of these meetings and updates we have. We had a community open house in October to talk about these proposed updates. And we had a joint PC and DRB planning commission summer report study session on October 12th to talk about options and come up with the final proposal. Like I said, at that public hearing in October, planning commission unanimously recommended approval. Very excited to have Lori share support with that.
A lot of the pieces that were direct items for feedback that we received throughout these many meetings and facilitated discussions with council, with board and commission members, with the city, with community members, with different departments, have resulted in direct feedback and incorporated within the guidelines which you see today. Some of these things related to membership and qualifications, duties and responsibilities for this proposed new commission, Scott touched on, but this is proposed and has resulted in a 7-member board as opposed to the current 5-member each board right now. 2 of those members would have training and experience with architecture, landscape architecture, urban design, urban planning, or related fields as it reads. And again, these members are appointed by council, so that will be an item for consideration during that membership and approval process. Some other feedback received and items of specific incorporation throughout this topic are related to agenda improvements, and that could be related to having an opportunity for better facilitation from staff and ideas for us to make sure this is and effective board moving forward that's holistic, as mentioned, which is an overarching goal throughout this, and also an opportunity for not just review and decision, but also an opportunity for feedback on policy and design guideline matters. Other things that we've been reminded of throughout this process, and we've reestablished the importance of the training on meeting procedures and the boards and commissions manual. This is within our code and the charter, and this will be included in the orientation process, and will ensure that this remains a focal point throughout this board and again on the agenda as it moves forward. It's also brought future opportunities to update the design guidelines, as we've also mentioned, and some community engagement, community first approaches to updating those existing documents and design guidelines. And with this board, the Community Development Commission currently provides administrative support for the Planning Commission and Design Review Board, which is being represented here as the Community Development Commission, which as proposed would act as the Board of Adjustment during very specific items of consideration and during appeals and things like that when it's appropriate. The other three boards and commissions that the Community Development Department provides administrative support for is the Historic Preservation Board, the Creative Economy Commission, and the Urban Renewal Authority. No proposed changes are before you tonight with those three boards and commissions. We have noted that the Creative Economy Commission sunsets mid-2024 at this time. And that will be when the Creative District will assume the role of managing that commission and those responsibilities moving forward. And I also want to point out the format of these slides too, if this works. At the top, it will show the topic within the ordinance and then the red line items, and there will be a number. And that's in an effort to make sense of the very large suite of code changes within the exhibit, and on the ordinance itself, those items are numbered and included on this presentation. The anticipated next steps specifically for these code amendments and also for this topic are City Council consideration in the first public hearing tonight, and then the second or final reading later in December. And then in December, having an open window for the Community Development Commission or CDC applications. We will ensure that this process moving forward is consistent with the clerk. And then in January 2024, the Planning Commission will host its last scheduled regular meeting. The effective date of these proposed text amendments is February 1st, so that's the fifth year. And then in February 2024, the City Council will conduct interviews for the new CCC and appoint hosting members. In February 2024, the Community Development Commission will meet for its first time and go through its orientation on their meeting process. And again, we will ensure that the future terms staggered in line with the general city. Thank you. The second topic within this suite of amendments is related to process and
First reading of ordinances.
this aligns with updated statutes and House bills, as well as is an emerging best practice of comparable communities, and is something that the city's been interested in doing for a while. And as such, city staff and the community development staff have identified 4 opportunities for process improvements, which are included in this table, like hard to read. And those are related to replats, which, as mentioned, are boundary adjustments and are kind of considered small in scale, typically not very difficult to represent within a land use application, because
It's crazy, it's just
otherwise
public
the
officials
land
talking.
don't have to meet a lot of design guidelines, but it's typically a
There's
minor
been
adjustment for a boundary.
Very
Final
little
development
public
plans,
comment going
the
on
minor planned
for all these
development
ordinances.
and minor subdivision applications. And a minor subdivision is a subdivision resulting in minor subdivision. So again, these are all an opportunity to scale the appropriate level of review, while still ensuring that public comment and public noticing will continue to be involved with.
Yeah, I've been drinking from a water fountain here.
Because that's still
Thanks,
remains a focal point for
thanks
the
for caring.
customer service and for transparency and engaged community goals that the city, the strategic plan, and the community development department have. And that's done through noticing and through public hearings with, in this table, the CDC, so the Community Development Commission has proposed.
I don't think there's
through
gonna be too many
postings,
people
through postcards,
commenting
publishings, and things like
on
that.
this ordinance.
And this is also an effort to align with the city's organizational excellence and high performance, and particularly how it supports improved customer service, like I said, and strategic plan improvements. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So, yeah, it's, again, maybe hard to read. This table is in an effort to sort of summarize in an illustrative way these core processes which are included in these red lines.
See, they're on
So,
12.3.
admin is administrator, which in the sense of the land use and development code is a planner or someone that has been delegated by staff and the community development director to be processing those applications. The CPC is the community
It'll be a few minutes.
right now, the planning commission, and CC is the city council. R is for recommending body, and then D is for deciding body. So D in this table would be certain instances for and give a recommendation of that application to city council, so either recommend approval or recommend approval of the plat. And then it would go in front of city council and a traditional publication and publishing. And city council would consider the recommendation of the planning commission. Yes. And the third and last topic of discussion in today's agenda is the accessory dwelling unit or ADU program. Staff considers these changes mostly clarifying elements and pretty small in scale. These updates include clarifying the integrated or attached ADU shared wall requirements, the parking requirements related to street frontage and the proximity of street type as defined in our land use code and by engineering, as well as clarifying floor area calculations for detached and integrated ADUs. All of these text amendments are intended, again, to provide flexibility for these applications to go through the pipeline and not just get stuck at the beginning, as well as consistency for staff to process these ADUs and provide additional affordable units to the city's housing stock as a result. The review criteria for text amendments for the land use development code are defined in section 6313-3 of the land use development code. These four criteria for decision are defined on this slide. Staff has reviewed and finds that the proposed amendments meet all of these applicable criteria. Today, as part of the public hearing and first reading of this ordinance, we have not received any public comment in response to noticing for these public hearings and facing and following months of community engagement. The Planning Commission, as we've reiterated a few times tonight, but we're very excited to report that the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of these text amendments during a public hearing held on October 23rd of this year. And our recommended motion is provided on this slide. Again, this would be to update portions of all 7 chapters within the land use development code with the topics that have been defined. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm going to start with a motion from council and then I'll open the public hearing. Live or virtual comments? Yes. Great. Waiting for virtual comments for public hearing.
Yeah, we have one here. Julie, please go ahead.
I'm Julie here. I just wanted to comment that although I know the council did not support Governor Paulus's changes that would have affected ADU, I as a citizen certainly support and would like council to take a look at really just doing away with the idea of an ADU regulation. What the original proposal at the state level is that if the zoning, in other words, if we say if you have X amount of square feet, you can have a duplex, or if you have X amount of square feet, you have a single family and an ADU. All of those would help with our current housing prices. I just like to say, get rid of the whole requirements for ADU and for the zoning of, for instance, residential 1. I think the governor is right. We as cities have failed, and it's very evident when you look at the cost of housing here. It's not the only influence, but a major one. So just want to put that out there and hope that in the future you will look at that as an option. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other individuals that would like to comment? No other. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. And can I have another motion from council? Can we put that back up, the recommended motion?
I move to approve the ordinance, I move to approve the ordinance, to update portions of chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the LUDC with the finding that the proposal complies with the criteria for text amendments as described in the City of Durango Land Use and Development Code.
All second? Okay. Council Ghazi seconds. And can we have council discussion?
Okay. Well, thank you. I've got a couple questions. Who would the administrator be on the CDC? You said in the packet that was sent out, there would be an administrator or a designee.
The liaison?
Who?
Within our community development staff?
But the Community Development Commission as proposed, they said that the leader would be a administrator. Who would the administrator be?
I think I understand that LUDC refers to an administrator as a formal designation in the LUDC, capital A administrator. That's typically the community development director. But so like when anytime a permit is signed, that the administrator signs it. Right now, Daniel Murray, our development services manager, is the staff person to the planning commission. He would most likely continue in that role for CDC. To kind of do the organization, to kind of be the, like Jose is to council, be that staff connection.
Thank you for clarifying that. Also, is commercial property under the purview of these proposed changes?
It's, for all, like, it depends. So these proposed changes, again, for ADUs and things like that, it affects different, parking standards and things like that for all zoning districts, so technically, yes. For process improvements, things of that realm, again, those are sort of, I see them as different buckets, so you could do a replat on commercial property, you could do a replat on, residentially zoned property as well, so.
Something we can approve now through the CDC and council may not make
that officer there, that guy right there, he's one of the guys that kicked me out of a public building for video recording back in August. His name is Derek Gallegos. So for the record, I'm at Durango City Council chambers. Well, this is City Hall here. There's a city council meeting going on. I'm just waiting for these public servants to finish reading off their ordinances and having the public hearings on those ordinances, and then they're gonna have a public hearing. So it's supposed to happen by 7:30. Coming up soon. I've got something written for our city officials. And I was hoping I'd still have battery left by the time I get to give my public comment, but you never know. Comments, yep, about the First Amendment and about city officials trying to convert our civil rights into crimes. So that's what I'm here for. There was a local resident who's been targeted. Let's see.
Eva Henson, Housing Innovation Manager. Before you to discuss and review the proposed ordinances regarding the Fair Share program. I follow you, yeah. Thank you. Find the slides. There we go. Great. This is a staff-initiated request to amend the Land Use and Development Code regarding the Fair Share program. Minor edits either simplify processes or improve clarity.
So right across the street is Durango Police Department. All right. Well, thank you, punk rock cowgirl goes nuts. So this is the last public ordinance reading before the public comments. The last public hearing. Well, they're introducing an ordinance and having a public hearing. There haven't been too many people commenting for these public hearings for all these ordinances. Maybe one person for one of them or two of them, and there's 4 on the list. So very little public engagement. There might be like 2 other citizens in the City Hall and the City Council chambers who appear to be here for, you know, public engagement or civic engagement purposes. Other than that, it's just a bunch of public officials just stroking each other, basically stroking each other's egos, you could say. For the record, I got something to say to these public officials at the City Council meeting. My card. Which one? I don't really have. I guess like my channel card. That's right. Yeah, let's just hope the phone doesn't die by the time I get to give my public comments, because man, it's already been 78 minutes. I don't have a battery plugged in, but I do have a static camera going, My 360 camera died, and the battery died. But it is so hard for me to listen to these people. They're like zombies. They're like robots, you know. They just keep reading off slideshows. There's very little like back and forth dialogue at the meeting. Yep, they circle jerking. Oh jeez, battery. Pray for my battery, people. I don't have one plugged in. I wasn't expecting to be here more than I've been here already. I've been live 79 minutes. No kidding, huh? Well, thanks for people for hanging in with me and sticking with the stream. If for some reason the stream dies, I'm gonna still be recording. Do you think it'd be better for me to point the camera at myself or at the city council members when I'm giving my public comments? Would you rather see me speaking or the looks of the public servants' faces when I'm giving my public comments? Yeah, the meeting is recorded on the city's own YouTube channel, so that's a good point. I should just point the camera at myself, huh? Yeah, the cameras are, well, it will be focused on me when I give public comment. That's a good point. Tell them off. Well, it'll be pretty still. I'm not going to be doing personal attacks, but I'm definitely attacking their decision making because it's deplorable, you know. So their camera will be pointed at me when I give public comment. Be kind of hard. Yeah, I'll just be balancing the camera on the podium when I'm giving public comment. Okay.
Adam Howell.
Yeah.
Here you go. So this public comment is for items, go ahead, not considered under our agenda this evening. Please limit discussion to 3 minutes. Let us know if you are a resident of the city and drop your comments to council, and we will not respond to the dais.
Okay. Hi, my name is Adam Howell. I live on Avenida del Sol. I'm a resident. The problem I have with how city officials are treating residents recently is that they appear to ignore, disregard, or misinterpret our First Amendment rights. Recently, city officials made claims through their friends at the establishment press that a local resident was harassing and intimidating public officials by emailing the city over 3,000 times. First, there is no limit to the amount of emails that a resident can send to the city to redress their grievances with city officials or city policies. Redressing your grievances is part of the First Amendment. The First Amendment gives us the right to petition our government for the redress of grievances. So how do we get to the point where city officials could get away with distorting and converting a citizen's First Amendment rights into a crime? Look out for the disdain for and ignorance that public officials have for our First Amendment rights. A common acronym for remembering the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment is the acronym RAPS: religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. Ask your public servants if they know what those 5 freedoms are, and you may get a surprising answer. Public officials trying to convert our First Amendment rights to crimes is prevalent among city police as well. I've been coerced by cops from video recording in public buildings and from sidewalks in Durango under the guise and deceptive premise of harassment, privacy, and trespassing. That's your secret government hard at work in an attempt to chill our First Amendment rights. Where's the transparency with our matters of extreme public interest? Press for transparency.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to comment virtually? Seeing none?
No, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to introduction of ordinance and requests for public hearing. Following items are requests for public hearings at our upcoming meetings. We'll have limited discussion on these items, just a motion from council to see if there is support to place the item on the agenda for upcoming meetings. Staff is available for questions, but staff presentations will occur at the meeting where the public is invited to participate. And when the council will vote on the merits of the matter. The first is a request for a public hearing and introduction of ordinance concerning a license agreement between Tesla Inc. and the City of Durango regarding electric vehicle superchargers at the Durango Transit Center. Do I have a motion from council?
I'll move to approve a request for a public hearing
Or set up.
or set up, oh, thank you, okay, great. I'll move to set a public hearing and introduction of ordinance concerning a license agreement between Tesla and the City of Durango regarding electric vehicle superchargers at the Durango Transit Center.
Second.
Council discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Buell.
Yes.
14.2 is a request for a public hearing for 1943 West Second Avenue minor subdivision preliminary plan. Do I have a motion from council?
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for 1943 West Second Avenue minor subdivision preliminary plan.
Second.
Council discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Counselor Bosman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff, Counselor Yazzie.
Hey, thanks for joining me, everyone. I don't speak to city council very often. It's definitely not my first time. So a local resident here who sued the city for withholding records about with emails between city council and city attorney. Well, city manager's office is going after him, and they sent this man who's been emailing city officials. They sent him the city attorney sent him a cease and desist letter for sending emails to public officials. So it sounds like First Amendment retaliation to me, don't you think? For them to go after some man for redressing his grievances. What a weird time to be, attending a city council meeting. These meetings are basically just rubber stamp committees. They are. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you too?
All right. Well, hey, thanks for what you do, man.
Appreciate it.
What's up, Scott?
How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
So anyways, thanks for joining, guys. Anyways, yeah, I better let you go. I gotta head out of here, and I've been on here for about 90 minutes. So, Press for Transparency is out of here. For the record, thanks. Punk Rock Cowgirl, thanks for showing up. Claire Wells UK, thank you. Veteran Affairs, thanks for tuning in. Exactly, Punk Rock Cowgirl. Yeah, I'm walking home. I better go. You can't even see me now, so Press for Transparency out. You guys all have a good night.